and Amy reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, or whenever it was, to be on the agenda tonight to do a short presentation on their post-election audit. And that apparently they've been recognized by the state or federal government for. So we'll get that going, and then they can leave because they don't want to listen to all our problems. So without further ado, we have Amy Rolfes and her husband, Mark.
I'm your county clerk, and what the county clerk does is run the elections. I run everything about the elections. It's all my responsibility. Also, the county clerk is technically the record keeper of the court system, so there's a lot of court work that has to be done as well. However, I wanted to do this presentation that I was asked to give in Washington, D.C. At a conference on election security. So the whole reason they asked me to do this was because we had, after the presidential election in 2024, we had an independent agency come in to view all of our voter records, all of the paper ballots, and the machines, the voting machines that record the electronic vote. And we did an audit, they did an audit of, do the paper ballots compare exactly to the electronic, what the computer says. And the good news is we scored a perfect score on our audit. We had 112,000 ballots that we had to manage throughout this process. But this is what the presentation was. There were 25 different states that were represented at the conference, and ours was the most down-to-earth, boots on the ground presentation that there was. Most all of the other presentations were research-based and had lots of charts and graphs and numbers, but ours was the real thing. How does an election work? So building public trust through the post-election audit, that was the name of it. And the whole focus was how you build trust in elections for people to really feel like their vote's going to count. So a little bit about me. I first volunteered with the Republican Party, had never been involved in politics before, no background. I'm a retired teacher and a nonprofit director. I led an organization that help low-income kids learn how to read. So I'm a reading specialist. That's really my background. But I became interested in, how politics works. And they asked me to run, and I said yes. And lo and behold, I won. The first Republican clerk in the history of St. Joseph County. So that's important only because I brought in a different view. I brought in a different perspective. I had new eyes to the ways things have been done in the past. So it's just a fresh perspective. So this is Timothy Wesco. Tim Wesco is chairman of the Indiana Elections Committee, and he's also a state rep from this area. And I was at a meeting one time, and he really said to the whole group, it does no good to create legislation for election integrity unless you have a clerk who is dedicated to implementing those laws. And so I'm dedicated to implementing the laws. And the background of St. Joseph County, unfortunately, there has been election fraud in St. Joseph County. And these people were actually convicted of petition fraud. This was quite a few years ago. So when people say, oh, there's no fraud, well, yes, there is. There truly is. Next slide. So when I was running and during my campaign, there was a big, big controversy because the ballot room where live absentee ballots are stored was, you're supposed to be able to only go in there if there's a Democrat in there and a Republican in there at the same time. And that, of course, is to make sure that it's bipartisan, that the Democrat can't do anything funny, the Republican can't do anything funny. But unfortunately, what happened during my campaign was that it was discovered that there were 7 keys that no one knew about for the ballot room of the live absentee ballots, which is very problematic because you're not supposed to be in the room unless you're with the opposite party. And there was surveillance video of Democrats going into that room by themselves and staying for a particular prolonged period of time. So lots of questions about trusting the elections. So when during my campaign, I promised secure elections and transparency and accurate record keeping. And that is why I feel like I was elected. I came right out and said it. I will secure your elections. And the first thing that I did, because as I said, I'm a retired teacher and a nonprofit director, first thing that I did was find a certification program in election administration, technology, and security. And this is run by an agency at Ball State University. And it's a year-long program. So I started right away, along with my Chief Deputy of Elections, Tricia Carrico. And we then learned everything that we could and got certified in how to run elections, all about the technology of the voting machines and all about security. So very proud that I got that certification. Last year, we did catching cheaters because we followed protocol. There were petitions that have to be turned into the clerk's office to get onto the ballot. In this case, it was a presidential candidate, Dean Phillips, who hired a company to get all those signatures. You know, when you're out and about and they say, here, sign this, here, sign this. You sign it and you don't really, sometimes you don't know what you're signing. We, as the clerk's office, make sure that every voter on that petition is real, that we know that they are a registered voter. Well, this petition company turned in 530 voter signatures, and we found, because we looked every single one of them up, only 19 of those voters were true voters. Everybody else was a made-up name, made-up address. There was no validation or verification. And in fact, one of the voters had died in 2018. So this is the fundamental check for elections. This is election fraud because those petitions were not true voters. That wasn't Dean Phillips' fault at all. I don't say it's his fault at all. It's the petition company's fault. But this is currently in the St. Joseph County court system. I was there on a month ago. I was at the hearing. She had a court hearing, this woman. And then I will go back on December 15 and they'll have another court hearing. So it's really good to know that St. Joseph County prosecutor is prosecuting this crime because it is a crime. It's a felony 6. It is felony 6. Counterfeit, yes, felony 6 counterfeit. Next slide. So what I did, I started off knowing that everything has to be bipartisan. We have to have double locks on everything. We have surveillance cameras now that are everywhere that a ballot is. We have surveillance cameras and we have sign-in sheets for when you go in and out of the ballot room. So it's just transparency and common sense. That's what it is. And even, did anybody vote at Center Township early? Center Township Library early last year? No. We had a tremendous turnout at Center Township Library 2 weeks before the election. And this was how we would transport the ballots. That is just a husky box that I got at Home Depot, but we had a Democrat lock and a Republican lock. So the previous administration wasn't very secure in transporting ballots, but we had a bipartisan team, Democrat and Republican, use a county vehicle. They had to sign out the county vehicle. They would take that tub down to either Mishawaka or to Center Township Library, put all the live ballots in there. The Democrat would lock their side, the Republican would lock their side, and then they would come back to the county city building, and then everything is under camera once they get inside. And they would take those to the ballot room, but they did not have the keys. There were designated people who had the keys to open that. So even our satellite voting centers had security. So this, I don't know if you're familiar with this. These are our vote machines, just to remind you, none of them are connected to the internet except for when you check in on the poll pad. Everything else is not connected to the internet. Next slide. Oh, wait a second, can you go back? The other thing is that in St. Joseph County, we have both paper ballots and we have an electronic version of that ballot. So you make your selections on the computer and you hit print and it prints out a piece of paper. That piece of paper is your ballot. And then you put that ballot into the scanner and it scans what your votes are. So when people say, we gotta go back to paper ballots, St. Joseph County already has paper ballots. And that is what we use in the audit to make sure that what the paper ballot said is exactly matching what the computer said. So next slide. So the machines are tested, the voting machines are tested before the election happens in a public test. And we had Holy Cross College students come, and it's open, you can come when we do it next. But that's to make sure that they're counting votes carefully and correctly. So to volunteer for a post-election audit is a huge risk, especially for a new clerk, right? For me to say, yes, independent agent, come in and you set this up. That graphic is what I thought it would look like, you know, an auditor, like can go through all your receipts. And in fact, that's true. That's what happens. Vista was the independent agency that came in. But I wanted to, for the public to be able to watch and the public to be able to know that the votes match. Next slide. So we traveled way down south to Gibson County because they were doing a post-election audit before us. And I wanted to understand, what does this look like and how does it work? So you can see that that is their entire audit right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 people. Next slide. Then before the audit, I made sure the media knew about it because I wanted to invite anybody who's interested to come. And the media was very interested in this because it had never been done before in St. Joseph County. So that's 112,000 ballots, all organized. It's painstaking to do all of that, but that's the only way that the audit works is if you can randomly select, you know, from a vote center or a precinct where the ballot will come from. So that's really hard work, but that's what we do. Next slide. That's actually on audit day. Those are color-coded containers for if it was an early vote by mail, if it was an early walk-in vote, or if it was an election day vote. So lots of different things to do. That is the post-election audit in process right there. That's how busy it was with our audit. And it was fantastic. Bipartisan teams of the clerks were working. And, yep, and that's how we achieved our perfect score on the audit was having a lot of people involved. Next slide. And so we did get the perfect score, as I said, and the entire process was open to the public. All of the numbers were up on a big screen, so all the public could see, they could ask questions. I thought it was just a really good way to open up how elections work to the public so that they could have more confidence in St. Joseph County elections. So there you go. Next one. This is the local media that happened after the audit.
Secretary of State. And now for the committee suspected or reported probably infected.
To gain increased confidence from the public that we have tested the machines before at a public meeting. We are testing them now afterwards to be sure that they were correct. So my goal is to increase public trust in our elections process here in St. Joseph County. Our highest priority for this administration is to be transparent, accountable, and professional when it comes to elections.
The report of findings of today's audit should be released in about 2 weeks, of course, and we'll keep it those right here and on WA.com. Very good.
All right, that's the end. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I'm also very happy that you were interested in having me come because a lot of people in, you know, downtown area, they've heard about it. But I want to make sure that everyone in St. Joseph County understands that we did do this audit and it did end up so well.
So are you going around to other
Yeah.
townships?
Just helping people to be more informed about elections and how they work, and that you should be proud of the security and all of the good things that are really transparency that's happening in the election. So, yeah.
How long is your term?
My term is 4 years, and I am in my third year. So I'm loving it so much. I am going to run for reelection next year as well. And as Sharon said, well, now that you know how to do it, she's right. My first year, I was just figuring things out with getting my certification. The second year, I was doing a post-election audit of the presidential election. And then this third year, I'm feeling much more like I know exactly what I do. So, and next year's election will be small. There's no election this year at all. But next year, we're gearing up for that. But I know how to do it. So, yeah. There have been a couple that have, but we are certainly the largest county. They had never done an audit in a county this large. And so when we went to Gibson County, you know, we have 192,000 registered voters. And I think Gibson County has like 30,000 registered voters. So the size is so different. So VSTOP was very happy with the results that we got. Very proud of their own work because they're like, oh my God, it's huge. And a new clerk too. So it was good all the way around. Any other questions?
I worked the polls for the first time.
Thank you.
And it was interesting.
It is interesting. It's a long day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah,
Where were you?
at Jackson.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you for working the polls. We need more people. We need people to work. Definitely.
Well, thanks for coming and,
All right.
Pardon me? I just have comments to make, if I could. Can I make a comment as well?
Sure.
Yes. I'm Mark Rolfus. I'm with the Republican Party, St. Joseph County Republican Party. I have a message for people of both parties, reminding everyone that in June of 26 is the state convention delegate for both parties. And that's where delegates meet to pick the nominees for Secretary of State, Attorney General, Treasurer, Comptroller, et cetera. So for anyone new, Indiana does not have primaries for those elections. So the call to come to the convention is another way to participate in your democracy. So it's in June. Why am I bringing it up now? Because to get there, you have to get on the ballot in January. Because you run on the ballot just like you run for township or countywide. And you run in districts. And we're trying to get as many people as we can, especially South Bend, Mishawaka has been kind of almost everybody since I've been here. We're trying to get more people from the outer areas of the county to participate. So spread the word. If you want to be in the convention, it's a lot of fun. Friday night, there's a big party. Saturday, you get to be one out of 1,500 people deciding instead of 1 out of 2 million in a primary. It's just another way to participate in your democracy. So please spread the word to your constituents. You, of course, as elected officials, are also welcome to sign up. But you do probably have to get on the ballot if you want to run it, which means you have to make the decision in January, not May, if you want to make for the June
And that's for
convention.
precincts people too.
No, that precinct people, there's every
It's a
4 years, that was 2 years ago. So this is just for delegates for the state convention, same in place for both parties. They work the same way.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, that being said, start with the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes, board members?
Yeah, and they were.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes, or well, I'll take a motion to not read them, approve them as published. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried, so we'll dispense with reading the minutes. New business, October month ending. If anybody needs a handout, they're over there on the table. Again, that should be number 3 on the deal.
Number 3. All right.
Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to, I get it highlighted on the computer. When I save it and mail them out, it doesn't highlight. So, well, it did. How'd that happen?
It's the
I'm
magic
quite
of
sure Daryl didn't sit down and do it on all. Okay, good, worked. Okay, the first account is the township fund, and well, we're doing pretty well there. We should be at through 10 months, we should be at 83.3% of their budget. We got office supplies, it's over, but again, it's small dollars. Line 3I there, care of cemeteries, that's over, but I suspect that's because of the money to, if you haven't noticed, the Roar Cemetery across from the golf course on Ireland Road, Judy contracted with the same people that did the one on Roosevelt Road to refurbish all those headstones, and it looks pretty nice. So that's why we're over there. And then, for some reason, our bank accounts charges are a little over budget, but that's all being good. In total, we're 51% in the township fund, well under our budget. And then down at the bottom there, I highlighted the cash in the fund at the beginning, and then the expenses of 23,000, start out with 201,000. And then the next page, we got a result at the end of October of 184,573 in the township fund. The next fund is the township assistance, and this is the one that's got a kind of a bogus account in front of it, but you'll see there's no charges or anything on in individual lines, or no entries. But down at the bottom, the cash in the fund to begin with was 57,637, and lo and behold, it's the same at the end. However, the charges all show up on the next page. Yeah. So the expenses are over on the next page. That's the direct poor relief. And you can see there that the month to date, we spent $1,461. And year to date, we've spent $97.82. So the numbers down at the bottom and the total on hand, they're all negative. So it shows the cash on hand minus 8,300. And then what we spent for the month, we're minus 9,700, but that really comes out of a positive balance on the previous page. Any questions on any of those? The one everybody's interested in, the township fund is, or the township fire and EMS is the next one. And you'll see there, I highlighted the unemployment compensation. That's at 92%. Again, it's 83% is where we should be. But that's front end loaded. As you can see, the month to date expense was only $142. So if we repeat that for November and December, that's another $300. So we'd still be within budget.
So we double that, $56.
Yeah. Stationery and office supplies is over a little bit. And then contracts and services, that's over. And I can't remember why that is. And fire fund, did that have something to do with the?
I think it's because you got my bill. That's not a bad idea.
Let's see, we had a big item was first due at 13,000. There's quite a number of charges here, but we had Stryker, 4,000. county home service.
All right,
So,
so just a collection of things.
yeah, I think the striker, charges were a maintenance contract on equipment, striker equipment,
Okay.
or monitor.
On the monitor?
You like that, good?
Okay. And then we do have a capital outlays account down there at the bottom, and I think that, that's over because was that there's the heat. We had $30,000 we spent on what?
Well, we spent 12.5 golf heating and air
Yeah.
conditioning unit.
That's what I thought.
And there was 6,500 for Michigan contracting. Is that for the sun?
That was probably, was that the core drilling or the
Maybe.
underground drilling? Directional boring?
That's right.
Okay,
51, 39, that's some, yeah, insurance back. I'm willing.
supposed to be, there was a deductible, wasn't it? So Zwickel's fence was, that's what that was all about, right? So in total for the township fire and EMS, we're at 78%, which is under the 83, obviously. And then we started the month with, is that an 908, 984, 271.
904.
That's a zero. Okay. And we spent $157,000. We still got $749,031 in the account.
Not necessarily budgeted dollars, right?
Right. Correct. It'd be nice to
Can't
have,
really spend all that.
not all appropriate.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have an appropriation column next to that so you can see it. Everybody understand that, even though we got the cash, we don't have authorization to spend all the cash. The lines above, that's where the percentages come in. That's what we're supposedly approved to spend up above. So we got more cash than we,
Well, that first column is what you're spending.
Right.
2,050,000.
right. Any questions on that one? Then we got the cume fund and we're at 84%, slightly over. In total, we got budgeted 450,000. We've spent 196 in the cume fund, so we're at 43%. So if you, and then as far as the cash is concerned, we started out with 599, 529, spent 65.72. What the receipts? We got some receipts in there. I don't understand why 2,500. Oh, it's not a big deal. So yeah, that leaves us with a cash balance of 59,460. And again,
It's probably, that refund stuff that getting paid for fire calls.
that wouldn't be in the cume fund though,
Yeah, I guess I can.
because we don't take any, county option income tax or none of that goes into,
Preston, Indiana.
interest. Okay. Any questions on the cume fund? Then on the cash ledger, I just highlighted everything that pertained to the fire primarily. Basically, it's a regurgitation of the numbers at the bottom of each account that we just been talking about the cash. But I do want to ask again about the bottom two. They're at 8604 and 8692. When will those go away, you think? Those are carryovers from the territory.
They won't be in next year's.
What are we on? Oh, yeah, number 4.
Yeah,
They'll go away at the end of the year.
okay. So those balances and everything will get cleaned up.
Yes.
Any questions on any of that? Okay. training came up. We had a meeting, with the firefighter meeting I did last week. A training issue, do you want to talk about that now or? And I can't spell training for some reason up there. I left off the I in the end, but,
You called me to, you guys, to express my concerns about training that's kind of got dropped over the last several months and stuff that we aren't able to do anymore because of not having a training center. So I kind of wanted to bring up and ask for some stuff that we can do, the props we could have here on station to practice with and move forward. So, we had one firefighter, Jay, that put this all together for us. One of our new guys did a very great job on it, presented it. I think it was received quite well and just kind of trying to move forward with, continue to improve our trainings and, keep us on, basically up to date with what we need and, just kind of keep moving forward.
Jake came up with some things that he thought, like training aids that we could use here now.
Yeah, there was the window prop, of course, closure door, the face mask shields for when we do search and rescue, and, a ventilation simulator, and then we just kind of talked about it, to expand our access to outside training facilities with some mandatory training, probably where we'd have to get some hours covered if we did go to someplace to do some live fire training, so.
Yeah, so now these items that he brought up, I think they totaled, well, Daryl gave me a sheet, 9,500. And then lumber materials to build a mock-up thing was another 2,000. So tell me about those. Those are things that we could set up in here and use here in this building or this property. They don't take up a lot of room. They could be, if we join a territory.
We can store it in, we can just move it anywhere we need to. If they're smaller props that we can set up, and like the ones we could build, it's saving a bunch of money by us putting them together ourselves. And even like the window props, we can practice bending and surge. We just getting people out of practice, getting people out of, like say, a bedroom at night or whatever. To efficiently move people out. There's a house fire. There's just
So
a number of different things we can do with it.
So these are smaller things that we could conduct some training here in this building. We wouldn't have to send somebody offsite, and this is all because we don't have a facility. If you remember over at Station 41, they had those big storage containers stacked up out back, and I was oblivious to how much those were being used and how integral they were to training, but these would be things that we could use since we don't have access to a facility like that. So I think we should go ahead. Really, it should already be in a budget. We got money in the budget for training.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of our training stuff got dropped when we had issues with the person that did our trainings that is no longer with us right now.
This would be in lieu of sending people
Right.
someplace else, bringing them in on overtime and sending them to.
Yeah, this will take part of some of that. We'll still need at some point in time, if we go to do some live fire training, probably have to ask them. So and from somebody, some people at times. But that's something we can work on as the future, as we keep moving forward in the future, and we'll get to that point and we'll get things worked out.
It's $10,000. I think you should go ahead. What do you think?
I guess I wasn't sure if, if we're going into a territory with somebody else to do that.
You could still use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they would still use it if we were in a territory.
I don't know if it'd be a waste of expense, because the props that we're asking to build and the forcible entry door are things that we wouldn't have to leave here and have even if we're in a territory like when we were with 41s. 41s would have to come down here, and then 42s would go up there and move around so that we could use the training facility. These props eliminate a lot of that because it would be here. So even if we go with Liberty or Penn or whoever, because Penn uses Mishawaka's facility anyways, we would be able to do a lot of that in-house and limit the out-of-house training to go to Liberty's facility or Mishawaka's facility and have somebody else come here to cover us.
So I really think it'd be utilized whether we're in a territory or not. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's
Take care of Center Township today rather than waiting for a territory involvement and taking care of Center Township when we become a territory. It needs to happen today. Or
So,
not today, but, you know.
because we were asleep at the wheel and didn't realize we weren't gonna have access to a facility when we got out of the territory.
Well, I don't think access is necessarily the logistics of using a facility is lacking, because we don't have a station to trade with now.
Right.
So we could still go use their facility if it required backfilling here of somewhere.
So it was no big deal before, you just swap people.
Right.
So we went over there and trained and their crew came over here,
Yep.
but obviously that's not possible now. So,
We're making them.
well, I really, it should already be in the budget. And we got, what did we say we had left over in
And
Capital
remember that
fund.
number for the training.
Well, training
the,
line
yeah, you're
item in the
gonna,
budget wasn't for equipment, that was for classes and.
yeah, when we sat down and did the budget with Daryl, it was all about, we thought it was like,
So I assume you're thinking that too.
yeah. So go ahead and make a motion. Okay, there's been a motion made. I'll second it. That's, that we go ahead and buy the training props in the amount of about $11,500. All in favor? Aye, motion carried. Okay, next thing on the agenda was the work schedule.
I'm gonna let Brian talk about that.
So it was brought up at our last union meeting, the proposal to change our current working schedule from a 48.96 to a 144, which basically is the same rotation we have now, work 2 days and then go on our leave. But instead of being a 3-shift schedule, we would go to a 4-shift schedule. To accomplish this with the minimum impact to the township, the union has agreed to reduce our overall staffing to a point where we think we can still run multiple calls at a time if necessary. It's our overtime. We're also proposing to give up approximately 1/3 of our the math we did right now, but
You had pretty well had this all written out.
yeah, and I think we provided a copy of the math to Judy to give to you and her.
I know you guys were wanting to meet.
Yeah, we just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to study it in more detail.
That was the first door to open up.
Yeah,
I wondered if they hit the clean wrong.
well, Amy Rolfes would have gotten excited if,
Just that didn't we thought with this space open up, I didn't, thanks.
well, yeah, so those of you that hadn't heard about this yet, they were proposing, they like the schedule they got, and that's one of the reasons that they stayed with us instead of getting their salaries adjusted, because they like the 2 days on, 3 days off, or 4 days off. That's attractive to some people if they have if they want to work at another fire station, or if they want to have a side business or whatever. So they were looking at expanding that to 4 crews, and then you'd be on 2 days, off 8.
6.
Okay, 6.
It's an 8-day.
Yeah, but it would require additional persons, so they go 4 guys per shift times 4 shifts, that's 16. Right now, we have 3 shifts with 5, so the net result is we'd have to make that work, you'd have to hire 1 extra person. And they've been through the numbers. We're not ready to take action on it, I think we got to learn more about it. But I asked them, is there anybody else in the world doing this? And they said, yeah, there's 2 or 3 others in California or Florida or someplace, Texas, wherever. So anyhow, I give them credit for trying to look at something new and different. However, with regard to going into a territory and how acceptable, whether we could maintain that, I've kind of told the people we're talking with about territories that we want to keep our schedule. And that may be a showstopper with Penn Clay deal. The rumor, we're getting rumors like everybody else is on that deal. But the rumor came back that there's no way those guys are going to go to our schedule. And we've been talking to North Liberty Green. They might let us be on our own schedule. We don't know that yet, but or they're looking at it. Pardon me? They're on they're like South Bend. Like normal people, like 90% of the world, I think, or whatever. With Clay and Penn, probably, yes.
Well, that and plus the current. We could have to change their schedule.
Originally,
Yeah, because it makes, maybe it makes sense to have everybody on the same field. They can work with the same groups all the time. You have a relationship rather than,
well, we thought about yeah. So those are issues to be worked out. North Liberty Group, the North Liberty Green Group seems to be more amenable to things like this.
Well, they don't really have a
Right now, they're pretty much volunteer, except, well, it's all volunteer, it's all volunteer. their EMTs, they have 24/7 coverage on their EMTs. And but the rest the fire is not 24/7. So they've got a long way to go to come up, and they have plans to do that, but,
But the strike. Comparable. But the one thing that was nice about the training things was they have all the facilities down there. They said, Charlie, we have a big problem. We send our men down there, swap out people. What to do, because they got all the equipment down there. So,
they haven't set up the cams yet, though, I don't think, like, but they got plenty of room, got nice equipment, they got a new ambulance coming, and, that's one thing we want to hear, we want an ambulance here.
just to find out.
So,
What do we consider?
What are-
We can transport,
BLS,
okay, we can transport, but we wouldn't
ALS, we wouldn't be a medic.
give us if we were in the territory. So there would be no increase in people because our men are training for it now. So it would be
Right.
a really advantage for us to, we wouldn't have to take on extra people to man the county type.
So those, just a lot of things to be thinking about, and, I don't know. They're anxious to do something because like everybody else, they shorted themselves when they made the Liberty Green territory because you gotta go for all this, and I think they didn't realize that because you get one shot at getting that levy. And, but those people down there seem more like us in terms of,
Realistic.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, yeah. So I think from that standpoint, culturally, it'd be very similar. Anyhow, anybody else got any questions? We're just rambling on.
Well, very quickly, if South Bend says they're not going to continue the contract for providing medics to the county, if we have a BLS ambo here, that is not a replacement for.
No,
the ALS.
but, I don't know what to be, there's lots of comments flying around on that subject, and supposedly there's a state law, and I think it was somebody here chimed up. the other
It's
night,
not been
Not promulgated.
Not been ratified, no.
Ratified.
It's been in the works for a couple of years
That-
now, and
that
it's still
The
there.
county has to do it.
Right, that it could be voted on. Now, I don't know what level of service they're obligated to do. It may be BLS for all I know.
Yeah.
But the law, and it's, I don't know, I sent it to Daryl. That particular one has been through committee a couple of different times, a couple of different sessions, but it was not voted into law yet.
So in that regard, I did reach out to Tri-County and ask if we provided you a stall to park an ambulance in. And I was looking at ALS, the top, the people who were paramedics, and you supplied one paramedic. Is that something you would entertain? You park it here, you'd supply one, and one person, we'd provide the other guy. And that,
One person per shift.
yeah,
They need.
it'd be a 24/7, they supply one person per shift, and we'd supply one. I just was throwing stuff up against the wall and see if it'd stick, and they said, sure, we'd be willing to do that. Now, Tri-County is, I guess they got a operation over in Elkhart somewhere.
No, they're Wakarusa, Elkhart, Bremen,
Yeah.
Day Road, Mishawaka.
Yeah, so they're around more than you realize. So I don't know,
Did they talk about
no. No,
And-
we didn't, I just first want to know if that's something that they would do.
They,
Yes. Yes, because I think if we're trying to be responsible for our area and providing better service, we all know that the medical thing is the biggest, far and away the biggest number of runs. And I think that would be something that we ought to entertain here.
It would make more sense to contract with, especially if you were saying you want a dedicated rig and medic, contract with them as opposed to hiring a medic, I would think.
Well,
Right.
there's a tremendous amount of training involved.
Yeah.
And a tremendous amount of technical certs and whatever that for the equipment. It's a big headache.
Definitely.
And it was discussed down there, is that ambulance wouldn't be just designated to us. So if they got a call someplace else, they would.
I think that would be, not, I mean, I'm sticking my nose where it doesn't belong here, but I think that would be, they would love to have a rig here. Or they would be, not that they'd love it, but they would be willing to have a rig here and like whatever. Where the money comes in is if you want it to be a dedicated rig. That's where the contract would.
Well, then how does that conflict with mutual aid and so on? You know, I mean, would we be so pious or so rigid about it that if the guy was on fire over here at the car dealership in South Bend, that we wouldn't send our ambulance?
Well, I'm not saying we wouldn't. I'm just saying that from Tri-County's perspective.
Yeah.
If you want a rig and you want it to be dedicated, in other words, they don't go out and do convalescent runs and they don't do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be money involved.
Yeah.
And it's better to contract with them to do that than to hire and have them, because then if you got turnover, then you got to find another medic and you're out of
Well,
service. And
that's the whole thing. I think this is so complicated that I think that's something that does need to be consolidated.
I agree.
And not done into every department
Yep.
doing their own thing, because you end up like Lakeville
Mhm.
with a mom and pop deal and with anyhow, that's just food for thought. That's down the road, but I think that would potentially be a possible deal. I mean, look, we don't have dedicated service now. I mean, if the ambulances that are assigned to the county they're going to send them wherever the pain is, and so anyhow.
Yeah.
And it all depend on how the contract or the agreement's written with
yeah, it's good
whoever's
discussion.
used. But I keep looking back at, was his name John Van Braney, the chief at Penn? And he said the biggest, he regrets the day they decided to put on an ambulance over there. He said it's nothing but a colossal headache. So that's my thought.
Tom, I was reading that schedule, last paragraph in there. They're proposing wanting to do a trial of that in
Yeah, I know.
January. I don't see any possible way.
No,
And why would we ever want to do a trial? How would you unwind it if you decided it wasn't going to work?
well, obviously they're not looking at the implications with the payroll and all that.
And an extra person that you hire.
Well, yeah, you might go with an on-call for the 3 months, or I don't know. But I think there's a lot of research and analysis got to be done before we move on that. What was one of what? Okay, that thought went in and out of my mind. So anything else there on other? Probably not. Old business, the feasibility study, I think we're probably done with that for the time being, at least. One open issue might be, we did get the survey. It was super extensive. I mean, it essentially locates everything. And plus, not only here, but the invert across the street where the ditch runs under and all that kind of stuff.
Did you
So
want this showing up?
what's that?
This is the number 7, the 2025 purchases.
Yeah, that,
Is that later? I'm sorry.
yeah, that, I jumped ahead for this thing.
Oh, I apologize. Is there
That
something?
was an update on the capital list, and Daryl didn't update that whole thing, or gave me this as an update.
Nice.
That's pretty good. So, anyhow, he had the training aids that the guys presented, he had that on there.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure something was on the screen that you wanted on the screen.
No, because it's not uploaded, it's the same one, so I think there's probably some more things that have been received on that capital list, but I don't have it, it's not updated. Okay, so, at some point, we might want to, get John Law out here from the surveyor's office and talk about the water runoff down, comes in here, but I haven't started that yet.
What did the survey say? Sorry.
Well, it gives you elevations and so on, the information where you might want to, it'll give you guidance on what to do and where the water probably coming from and so on. I think we know where it's coming from, down the sidewalk, and whether some of those inlets in people's yards are plugged up or whatever the deal is. I think those drains, I don't know that for a fact, but all those yard drains should end up going under the road and into Bowman Creek, and whether they do or not, I don't know. So that's where John Law would
They
come
only
in.
happen like about every 4 or so houses.
Yeah, they're not in every yard, but,
No. And I don't know that they're graded to,
well, what are you gonna, when you got somebody's private property, they're gonna screw around with their yard, and,
yeah.
I mean, that's what happened over on Southern View or whatever that is down across from my field. They both all had culverts and stuff, and they all, homeowners filled it all in. Anyhow, so that's where we're at, feasibility study. I think for the time being, adding on or building is on hold, it's for sure, until we figure out if we're doing anything with the territory. The dissolution status with, Portage, I think I got a fire bill under somebody, and we know what.
Got a good invoice. We have some other miscellaneous things that.
So we should have everything we need to make the final settlement with Portage.
Yeah.
Give us a month.
I'm surprised he's not bugging us, but money's not, yeah, he does. You know, we told him that, but he's working with
That
us.
80,000, his portion of that is pocket
He
change.
could use that in his food pantry though. Okay, so that's still outstanding. Clay Pen territory thing, we've kind of talked about that. There seems to be some dissension amongst the other people too, from what we're hearing, but I don't know that for a fact. Capital need status, we've already talked about that, basically, it's not updated. The generator, we did select the Kohler generator from Gemmer. That happened to be the lowest cost when it was highly recommended by Tom McCormick, who has installed some of those himself and his business. At any rate, the holdup, I think it's been ordered. We signed the documents to go ahead with it, but we need to determine what our gas load was here, and I sent that to NIPSCO today. So we had to get the ratings on all the appliances, all the gas consumption stuff here. So I think we're moving along on that. 60. And I didn't know it, but Portage had this guy put one in too, same guy, Kohler over at Station 41. So
Recently?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, anyhow. Fire chief's report, well, I guess, Denny's gone. And
Hey, Tom.
He was a standing, so that leaves you.
Yeah, well, as far as, I did want to, if you don't mind, if I can get this thing to work.
What was the nature of this call?
Structure file.
You notice what truck they didn't take? There was some training right there.
Yeah, right there. That's pretty good. Usually they just keep going.
When do they put the exhaust tube on?
Usually once they're inside. I mean, if somebody's standing there, they might put it on, but usually once it's inside. Hi. Can I talk about this real quick?
Sure.
I had promised to have this in the packet and I lied. So, while I was waiting for some information from locution, but, from the IT budget perspective, we do have some needs and then some wants when it comes to, things. So I put on the board here and, I can email it to folks, but, we do need a new computer that goes in that locution dispatch box. That one's running Windows 10. It's getting end of life. We had bought one. If you remember, we bought a spare a while back when we had the two stations. We ended up burning the spare at 41s, and we just never bought a replacement for the spare. So this would be a replacement for an existing. If we wanted to buy a spare, that'd be fine too, I guess, if that's what you guys want to do. In here, I just put in for the one. Yes, sir.
So you got a handout on that or you
Uh,
didn't print off one?
I did not. I apologize.
Okay.
But I will email this to the board and
Well,
I can email it to anybody who wants it. It'll actually be on the website.
Chris, I was also asked if you can add a computer to the radio.
I'd heard that too, a desktop computer, right? I'd heard that I think one of the captains mentioned that, and I think Andy, at least he's the one who mentioned it to me. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I had not put that in here because I had heard about it after the fact, after I put this together. Exactly. And I think that's where it was kind of,
competition.
I'll use the word complaint. I don't mean it quite like, but I mean, the issue that I had heard was that if somebody wants to be putting in reports and they need to scan documents and they need to do that, and that computer is occupied, well, then they can't do it because they can't. But what I did is I put the scan app on like this training computer, and we can put the scan app on anybody's computer, and the software that they're using or the program that they're using are all web-based. So with the training computer could be used to put in reports and to scan. If people want more computers and there's a good use case for it, I don't know why we couldn't. I mean, the other thing that Andy brought up was having a committed training desktop computer that's available, whether it's down here or up or wherever it is. And then this one can float and be wherever it needs to be. That would be what, about another $1,400 maybe. So that's fine. This was put together before my conversation with Andy. So, but definitely a locution computer to go into that box. The Sonic wall is the firewall that we use. And I've had some discussions with dispatch because you may not remember this, but a while back, Keith and I had worked to get a failover set up for if we lose Comcast, because Comcast is our lifeline to the dispatch. There's some little glitches that have gotten in the way for us really executing that. And it has everything to do with how things are connected with Comcast. Had a conversation with Sal at dispatch. Instead of a firewall, instead of spending $1,500 on a firewall, we could probably do $500 on a VPN. And then that would be a dedicated connection that then would also work for the failover. I'm kind of talking directly to Keith right now. But the bottom line is, we don't really need the new sonic wall if we go that direction. We'd spend about $500 on that VPN. And then if we do have a power out, or not a power outage, but if we, well, yeah, power outage too. If we did have a power outage or if Comcast died for any length of time, it would fail over to cellular connection. And we wouldn't have to worry about that messy IP address stuff. So I'm saying that to you.
Hearing, but I
Okay.
gotta draw a mental
So,
picture.
yeah, in other words, we may not have to spend the $1,500. I think we do need a new, a larger switch in the back here that handles power over Ethernet, so we're not having to put in. Right, exactly. No, but at least that way we're not having to put in transformers for every piece of Wi-Fi equipment or wireless over or wireless access points. So like I say, a lot of these things are really dull back end kind of things. Replacement battery for our power, our uninterrupted power supply. And that's what keeps the computer going in case of a power outage. Or if there's a glitch for when the generator kicks over. Probably could, and that's where I'm going. I mean, I agree. And that's where the next thing comes in. I'm thinking we keep the UPS that we've got and move it into the report room. And then we get a replacement UPS up here that's called an online UPS so that it never loses power. There is no switch when the power goes out, it clicks over. It's all because it's always running on battery. And they're a little more expensive, but we can get one that would power everything back there behind that sheet, which is a whole other issue, but powering everything behind there.
Connect that to the new generator. So the UPS really only has to.
Only for a few milliseconds. It's the issue is not with the computer, it's with locution. Locution has to have 100% on time. Otherwise it dies. And then you have to make sure you go back and restart it. So as long as people know that, it's not an issue. But if all of a sudden people are like, hey, we're not getting dispatches, it's because when the power goes out, the number of milliseconds from the time the UPS, believe me, I've tested this at 40 once. The UPS will keep the computer up, but it will not keep locution connected because there is enough of a dead space there that 100% uptime gets broken. So it's been tested a couple times at 41s and it's been tested here. The UPS doesn't keep locution going. Keeps computer going, but not locution.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 100%. The heartbeat has to be there the whole time, and it may be that was when it went out and we did it. It was the one time that it needed a heartbeat and it didn't get it. But yeah, the computer stays up, locution goes out. It stays on, but the connection goes away, and it doesn't reconnect. We had this discussion the other day about iPads for truck checks and inspections. And then, so that was, and then of course, protective cases, in the bottom, and a wireless keyboard to go with it. This was the other reason why this wasn't sent to you guys ahead of time, was because I was waiting for some quotes from Locution for some improvements to the station. There's been some discussion about getting the red lights at night so that when they get a call, that's coming up. Yeah. So it will, yeah. Now with the Prime Alert, which is what we supposedly have, yeah, the red lights will work with Locution. Locution sells them, of course. So the idea would be to get them for the dorm rooms and the common area of the hallways, BC's room, bathroom upstairs, those kinds of things. And then
What's that for when you get a call?
when you get a call at night, you at least have some light that when you get up, you can at least see well enough to get to the door. You can get out without having to turn on a light and without it being so bright that it messes with your night vision. Yeah, you see enough, but you're not having to, that way, when you're out here, obviously you'll be in the light, but, and then a couple of locution enabled doorbells. Warren stations have these are really nice, where you press the button and it'll announce, say somebody's at the west door or the east door. Right now, we've got one bell and, we've got nothing here. Well, I got a bell here too, right? So you don't know where you're going.
Same bell rings.
Same bell rings for both. Right.
The other thing we talked about is having those doors, so you can talk to somebody on the outside without actually opening it up if it's not safe.
Sure could. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And then, the other thing would be speaker volume controls for, like, when you're upstairs, you can attest to this probably. I don't know. I know this is something that, Zach's talked about. One, we don't have a speaker in the B. This is gross.
Oh, is that a medical pulse?
Yeah. The medic examines a person. One mention.
Hey, are you there? Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, as soon as somebody gets in there, tell them we're there. All right? They just called me. Yeah. All right. All right. Bye. It's my wife's birthday. We're going out to dinner and everybody's over at Texas Roadhouse and they're calling me, asking.
Oh, okay.
So, bottom line, I've talked way too much about all this stuff, but the bottom line is I'm waiting for quotes from locution. But currently, with the things that we've discussed, we're looking at about $5,800. That does not include the potential for getting another standalone computer. So you'd add about another $1,400 to that. I don't foresee that these locution items are going to be all that expensive. The doorbells are not expensive. The volume controls aren't that bad. But I want to be able to get back with you with what those costs.
Why, if you and Keith get together, come up with the list and priority, keep in mind, if we do a territory, if it makes sense to do it now, regardless of a territory decision.
As long as we'll have a station here, pretty much all. that
Okay.
is.
And then the other thing, since we've kind of shelved doing anything else, is it time to reconsider putting all that electrical stuff on the wall
The answer is yes.
into that room?
Well,
And we need a quote to do that
there's no chance that we're gonna do any remodel that
upstairs.
uses that first stairway.
No,
Okay.
Now, the answer is this is insane.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, I went to look at something the other day, and like, oh, this is the pavement, and
this
this
is
is.
horrible. We do have a quote, by we, I mean Daryl, has a quote from a company for doing that. I don't remember the number, but I know he's got a quote.
yes, yes. That's why I was trying to,
No, I'm sorry. I mean, it was, I'm just explaining why there's all of this chaos. But anyway, so yeah, so I guess I'll get with Keith because Keith and I are also gonna get, not yet, no. No, excuse me. What he's referring to is we've been having discussions with Comcast. This goes back a few months, but we were talking about bringing fiber optic into the station as opposed to using cable. So we're having a conversation with Comcast about that. And what that would look like and what kinds of costs. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be that much more than what we're already paying.
We actually had two fiber options. We had Comcast and also had Surf.
Well,
We're using some other services on Comcast.
they're one and the same because Comcast would contract with Surf to bring it. It would still be under Comcast, but they would be working with Surf to bring the fiber in here. We can't just contract with Surf because Surf doesn't have voice over IP for the phones. So we'd still have Comcast, right, if we did the phones. Right. Well, and that's just it. I mean, we can keep with Comcast and then they do the back end work to get fiber in here. But we can have that discussion. But yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Anyway, you guys get together and include cleaning up this wall and
Good.
you're free to go.
So moving that in there changes the use of that room for the reports.
Yeah.
So we have to make some considerations for them. Just bringing that up.
Yeah. All right. I can't leave till you're in the meeting.
Oh.
Keith, unless you want to do the honors, Keith, and, well, you don't have to adjourn it on my behalf, or on my account. I'm just saying, when the time comes, just come over here and click end stream and do that stuff.
Well, we as a board of safety need to have a 3-minute conversation quick on the Chris Haggerty deal is, nearing the end, I guess. So they're making plea agreements back and forth, and we were asked to weigh in on a plea agreement by the prosecutor. So we need to probably as a board of safety, look at that and make a decision whether we want to tell them to go ahead so they can. Well, the Chris Haggerty deal is, it's in the stages where they're making plea agreements between the prosecutor and Haggerty's attorney. And they reached out to us to see if we're fine with what the prosecutor is proposing as a plea agreement. So I thought the three of us ought to look at that, and because she's waiting on us to tell us whether to go ahead with it or not. So that's the only other thing that, since Daryl's not here, union rep's not here, we talked about the IT thing.
I was gonna say, took a quick glance, still have 11,000 in the township fund for IT. And
Plus the fire.
7,600 in the
Yeah,
fire fund, right?
yeah, so,
We've got
yes,
appropriated money.
yeah. And, oh, incidentally, of course, they're gone, doesn't matter, we're using first due, is it? And that was the thing that Zach was supposed to be in charge of, and that came up last night at North Liberty, and they're using something else that South Bend's using. They're not using first due, and so, you get 5 people in a room and you get 7 different ideas on what it ought to be. Yeah. So I don't know,
But Clay uses first. Yeah.
it could be.
Too, but they.
So,
Oh, well, isn't there some scuttlebutt about first dues training module is substandard? But I
But
mean,
we don't.
first due is a collection of.
yeah, you don't have to use all of it, some of it, but
Dispute came in, Dave and Darryl, in order of the training. come down, but it's not a good, it's not a good one, so. It's just some issues.
This is a site, snarky note, notice which truck didn't go on either call.
wonder if they would consider
Sound-
reducing,
Yeah.
reducing the amount of water that they carry on that,
Yeah,
because that seems to be one of the big bugaboos.
well,
Has
I
no
don't know.
power to carry 500 gallons of water.
So when I see on the capital list a new used engine,
That new truck
I
that
got
they
it.
bought.
Are you kidding?
Take it out, because
another engine to replace
it's-
and it's used.
Speak up.
Is there operational procedures changed that some township as far as who responds with what?
I
You
would
mean-
say the answer to that is yes, but probably not.
You talking about the box cards or the box, whatever?
No, I'm
I was
talking
talking about when we
They're
get a
running
call,
it.
what they respond with.
They're running into the rescue, and you just sold a perfectly fine rescue, which is much better than that. And now that's sitting there doing nothing.
Well, that's why-
Go back to doing exactly what you tried to do, to make more men on the scene with more appropriate equipment to do whatever had to be done. It didn't work.
That's why I made the snarky comment.
What?
That's why I made the snarky comment about notice which truck didn't go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I heard dispatch, they're using that as a rescue. Now, what sense is that?
I don't know, I thought it was supposed to
It's
be the,
supposed to be the VC's vehicle.
No, that was, is what it's bought for. What the understanding I had based on the information that was on the floor.
me too.
So,
Okay,
wondering money. Yeah.
kind of reminiscent of buying a ladder truck. Okay,
So,
It's taking the regular pickup truck.
yeah,
so they
that's what,
don't-
then he hopped in the pickup truck. That we were originally gonna sell it.
But isn't that equipped with all of the rescue stuff? So
They just
that's,
spent
I mean,
money,
it
a
has,
lot of money because all the rescue stuff went with the truck.
but I mean, even it has medical, first aid stuff, that probably this truck does.
This is supposed to be the BC is supposed to take this to every call.
Yes,
They're supposed to take every call.
Yeah,
That was the selling.
it was smaller, quicker, more nimble.
And you can operate with two people.
Yes,
You gave you three on an engine then.
yes. So we got four and, well, two guys went in the pickup truck. Who's the kid? The kid that came in here later.
Michael Van Wordenberg.
Looked like he just woke up.
Oh, he's been in there.
So they're not gonna use that truck, is that correct?
Well, they're gonna use it if there's a,
So how much money did we pay for that? How much money did we put in equipment on that?
You're preaching, you're preaching to the choir, Tom.
And,
Because
yeah,
50,000 for the truck.
and what if we still a perfectly good rescue with all the equipment?
But they never used that one either. Thirties. Well, net,
The selling. fee.
well, that's
But
why.
they never took that yet. That never went on the call for,
well, this is destined for the same story.
I'm sure.
What people make. And there was a choice made.
As
And it's not being used.
as a trustee and as a board chairman or the board, I don't know. I think we can dictate to them what they use. I mean,
Problem.
I can be
There's
irritated.
no consensus in that group. It's like
Well-
every ship has strong.
Well, bingo. Bingo. We can't talk about that further.
It was the last meeting or the meeting before, when Daryl mentioned that we needed to buy another truck. And he went to look at it, and I'm not in favor of buying anything else right now. We.
What, the truck he was talking about was to replace that, isn't it?
well,
Yes.
yeah, it's him picking out the ones he's picked out, so-
Well, he and Benny went down and picked that up.
I know, him and Denny went.
And Denny and Jim here picked out the ladder.
So Denny is not a good person to send.
Denny and Jim Harris.
Yeah. I think there's not.
I just think that,
I,
and I'm not holding you folks, but you're going by what your person tells you that's supposed to be in charge of the department. And I don't think you can be any department, take the city department, the wastewater treatment plant, this, that. If they're asking for something, there has to be a good, substantial reason to spend that money as a taxpayer.
but when we bring it up when we bring it up before the larger group, when we bring it up before the larger group, you all agree and it's crickets. Nobody says anything. But the next day they're in at her door bitching about what,
These things in the line of a chief who can do some better homework.
Yeah.
And
Well-
figure everything out. We've given too much leeway.
that's why we hired a chief.
When you put a person in charge, do you give them things to do, to be responsible for, and to have a planning? I used to plan year, 3 year, 5 year, 7. With the direction that we wanted to go.
Tom's asked for that so many times to give us an idea, and we never
We're
get.
still in the meeting. Yeah, no, yeah.
No,
Okay. It's still screaming, because,
I don't think anybody's listening.
well, probably not, but
It
it's
can be
but it's
recorded.
being recorded, so.
Yeah, can you shut it off?
Yeah.
We'll adjourn the meeting. Destroy the tape. No,
Did you vote on adjourning?
motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn. Dave second. All in
Done.
favor, aye.